Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 72 of the Playoff Push podcast. I'm your host, Jack Dobbins, and today I have a very special interview for you. We all know the legendary Giants teams of the 1980s. You got Lawrence Taylor, you got Carl Banks, you got Harry Carson, and we have another one of those linebackers, Gary Reasons, on the show, part of the core four. How we doing?
Man, I'm doing great. Good to talk to you, Jack.
Absolutely. As I told you, being raised a Giants fan, it's truly an honor to get you on the show, to get to talk with you about the prime era of Giants football.
Yeah, we had a very special time, and I was on the draft class from 1984, where I think we started the trajectory of the Giants, being an elite football team, back in the early 1980s. So I was a 1984 draft pick. Carl Banks was on our draft board. He was actually the number three overall pick, a first round draft pick. William Roberts was on that team as well. Jeff Hostetler in the same draft, and myself and Lionel Manuel. So all of us grew together with the team that was there, and then we added some pieces along the way over the next couple of years. But we had a storied time, and we became known as a very physical and tough football team, which I think fit right in with the era and the locale of being in Jersey and being a team of the people, so to speak. And we had a lot of good times, and it worked out really well. I'm really proud of my career.
That's exactly where I wanted to start with that draft mention. Of course, you and Carl Banks going in the same draft, getting to play together for a very long time. What was it like being so, I guess, connected off rip and just being able to grow together side by side to the exact year of being drafted?
Yeah, Carl and I are, we're good friends, and it's just a matter of being able to play with each other, understand what our roles are. Now, Carl was an outside linebacker. I played inside linebacker alongside Harry Carson, perennial All-Pro, just an NFL Hall of Famer, and then lined up on the other side, good old 56, the jersey that you're wearing,
Oh,
and
yeah.
Mr. Inhuman. I think that the things that he did on the football field were, tremendous and very, very much inhuman, because he was really special. But the four of us, for a long time, we played together and set a standard of excellence. And I think that carried over with how we prepared and how we, presented ourselves for the game. And I think that was effectuous of the rest of our teammates, their defensive line and defensive backs. All of us pulled together, and I know that Bill Parcells liked that, because we were a tough defense, and him being a defensive minded coach, it played real well into a team that he wanted us to become.
Yeah, speaking of Parcells, he ran a 3-4. What was it like learning under him and that defense that he holds so deeply to his heart?
Well, the 3-4 defense was really what I was brought up on playing in high school and in college. And so I had a deep background in it. And so when I got to the Giants, I basically was pretty good with it. So all the keys and reads and everything were basically very similar to what I had been learned before. A couple of things different that we did physically, how we'd approach blocks and different plays. A little bit different there. But overall, we had Bill Belichick was our defensive coordinator, our linebacker coach. So coming up with him as an early coordinator and learning, how to deal with the room of guys that he had with us as linebackers and the defensive backs and the DLs, it all came together with I think we had a level of expectation that we set amongst ourselves to achieve. And there's some good moments, bad moments, tough moments. But overall, I think our whole team and our whole locker room, we're really, just a good bunch of guys, and we played to win, man.
Speaking of Belichick, obviously went on to have an incredible career in New England, but he was with the Giants first. Did you know he was going to be a great coach that early on?
Well, he had all the makings of it, but really the best thing and I tell people this all the time, that about Bill Belichick, the thing that would take away from him and how he coached us was really how to prepare. He taught us
Okay.
how to prepare, and he prepared us as linebackers, because you see his diligence, and he burned the candle. He put in the hours, he built the game plans with his staff, and those guys were paramount to our success. And so being able to take some guys, we're alpha males in there. We're physical guys. We're big guys. I mean, he's not a very big guy. So if you were a linebacker on the New York Giants back in the 1980s and early 90s, you were 6'4", 6'5", walking in that room, and we're all big guys as linebackers. That's not kind of the case today. There's a lot more speed oriented defensive linebackers today, but we were big. We were pretty stout, and we were just everybody had to cower over Belichick. But when he spoke, we all listened because we knew that he had studied and he had prepared, and what he was going to share with us for a game plan was going to put us in a good position to win the ball game.
Belichick obviously left the Giants after Parcells left, but I want to go to 1989. And when I think of your playing career, the first play that comes to my mind is the hit against Denver in 1989. Just tell me a little bit about that. Tell me about what it was like being inside of that play, what led up to it, what it was like with the actual play itself.
Yeah, the play was pretty cool and how it all came together. But really, that whole game was one that we needed as a team to move on and get to the playoffs. And so, if we didn't win that game, we were not going to make it. We wound up winning the game. I'll give you the short story of it. But in that game, I really felt like I had one of the best games of my career. Multiple tackles, multiple big hits. John Madden and Pat Summerall having the call on that football game was really pretty cool to be able to hear some of his commentary along the way, and just kind of set up for a unique situation. We had to stop them on 4th and goal, and I kind of knew what was going to happen, and I anticipated it. And once John Elway turned out to the right, I knew exactly what the play was going to be, so I took off. Went into Superman mode and just took a little flight over the line and hit the target pretty well. So it worked out perfect. We stopped them on that, and really the play has taken on a life of its own. It's been around now for many many years, and I still hear about it every single day from fans and even people I meet that it's been part of. They noticed that or saw that. There's many different coaches that I've been in contact with over the course of the years, and they tell me that, Gary, we use that play as a teaching mechanism for our players.
Wow.
That whole series we use that because they want to inspire their guys to play and play with a lot of heart and physicality, and that's a great example of that. I'm glad to have made it. It turned out well for me, and it certainly is a very fond memory.
When looking back at the best games of your career, obviously you played against some amazing quarterbacks. You mentioned Elway in that game, and you also got to pick off Joe Montana twice in the NFC Divisional in 1984, even though it was a loss. I believe 21-10 was the final score. Montana threw three picks, two of them to you, one of them to Harry. What was it about that game? How were you reading Montana so well?
Well, it was just situational, and we played a lot of zone defense and had a chance to get in the passing lanes, and that was it for me. The ball was tipped. One of those was one that I dove and literally caught with one hand. I just laid my hand out on above the grass, and I used to be a tight end in high school, and I was a really
Ooh.
good athlete as far as catching the football and so forth. So interceptions were kind of a thing that I liked to do, and I was very adept at catching the football. Every week, I would practice with our tight ends. I would be the ball retriever, handing the ball to our tight ends coach, Mike Pope, and Mike was throwing to his tight ends, and those tight ends got about 3 or 4 catches apiece. But guess how many Gary got when they threw the ball back? I caught every one of them. So I got a dozen catches compared to just the 3 or 4 that each of those tight ends got, in one of those situations. So I worked at it. I had really good hands. I was on our hands team. Really, they put me right in the front in the center of the hot spot there of being on our hands team. So I really could catch the ball. I had really good ability to do that, and glad to have made the number of key plays that I did, including the interceptions on Montana. Just think of this. In the record books, I'm the only person who has 2 playoff interceptions in a game against Joe Montana.
That's
It's just
remarkable.
a nugget. You can use that in any time you like.
That is so cool. That's like a great thing. Do you know what Immaculate Grid is? It's like a game on your computer where it's a 3 by 3 grid of like teams or accolades or stats, and you have to find a player that matches like the top left corner, the top right corner, and all that. I wish they put that as one because that would be crazy to pull on there.
That would be tough to get to. That would be tough.
Very like super specific, but it'd be pretty cool to pull. One more game I want to bring up with you is actually another game against the Niners. That's going to be the 1990 NFC Championship. And you mentioned you knew how to catch the ball, but you also knew how to run the ball. A 30-yard fake punt run to help us win that game and advance to the Super Bowl. What was going through your coaches and your mind during that play to take such a risk?
Well, we needed to win that game too, obviously, to get to the Super Bowl. And it was getting late in the game, and came on the field on the punt team when we went out there. I ran right past Parcells, and he says, "Use it if it's there." Well, he knew I heard that, and I had told him earlier in the game. I said, "Bill, it's there if we need it." And what I'm talking about is we have a fake punt that we had practiced for many years. I actually, in that previous game in 1989, I ran a fake punt in that game against Denver, and it was the same fake punt, but the result was a lot greater in the NFC Championship game. And it turned out well for us. I knew it was there. How the punt return team was set up, and actually they only had 10 guys on the field at the time, and so right where I was going to run, the player was actually missing. He was on the sideline. They did not put him out, put another player out there. You can play with 10 players, but you can't play with more than that. So little deficit there for them. Anyway, so another tidbit for you can use this also. Who holds the NFC record for highest yards per carry in the NFL NFC playoff games?
Is it you on that play?
Of course, one for 30 yards. That's pretty good. So
That's a pretty good ratio.
I'm a winner there.
You're all over the record books, like all over in different things, the defensive side and then the offensive side, or more so special teams, but regarded as an offensive stat in terms of gaining yardage. That's crazy stuff, man.
Yeah, it's all good. We, a lot of fun with it, and just glad to have made some really good plays and being a part of a great team and a great culture of football and championships and winning. It's really interesting to see all the takeaways. And I have literally written a book, and it's going to be out this spring, and it's called Reasons to
Ooh.
Believe: An Inspirational Path to Winning. And inside of this book are bunch of takeaways that I have from sports and my broadcast career. And I share those messages in a very much of a structure of there's a different takeaway in every chapter. And when you have a chance to take a look at that book, you'll see it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you'll see that it's made to give the viewers and readers a chance to understand some of the takeaways we have and how they can apply them to themselves in their world, whether it's in their family, their business, or their job or their role. And there's a lot of things that can apply to it, whether it's sports or whether it's business or family. So check that out when it comes out. It's going to come out later this spring, just before the NFL draft, I hope, and hopefully we'll get it out there in a big way.
Absolutely. Let me know. I would love to check it out. That sounds remarkable. Are you done writing it? Is it finished being written?
Yeah, it's done. I've had it done for a couple of months now. I'm just waiting to see how we're going to publish, whether it's going to be with a publishing house or we do it independently. I've got an agent that I'm working with, so we're taking a look at the best avenue.
Can't wait to check that out now. I didn't even know that was coming out. I saw like your posts on LinkedIn regarding like using that reasons to believe thing, but I didn't realize there was a
That's it.
book coming out. That's super cool.
Yeah, it's the reason to believe, an inspirational path to winning, and it's there. And so all the stuff that I'm doing now is I'm reinforcing some concepts, and basically, I'm going out every single day, putting on LinkedIn and with a YouTube video attached to it as well of some of my takeaways. And I can talk pretty good. I've been in front of a camera for over 30 years and a microphone. Really haven't been had any shortage of words, so I'm able to communicate pretty well.
You've won a lot during your career, obviously, Super Bowl. And another one is being inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. And you were a member of what a lot of people consider to be the first ever class to include smaller schools. Because you went to Northwestern State. A lot of people are not too aware of the FCS compared to FBS. What was it like having that honor bestowed upon you to be inducted into such a huge group of iconic players?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking, and it really is a distinct and a true honor. When I got the word from that, I literally was in my house. I used to live in the north side of Houston in Spring, Texas, and I had the FedEx driver drove up and had delivered an envelope, and I had thanked him, walked inside the house, sat in my office, sat down in my chair, kind of like I'm doing now, pulled the zip back on this thing, and I pulled out this letter. It says the National Football Foundation. I'm like, it's just very reasons. We're pleased to announce, to inform you that you have been selected for enshrinement in the National College Football Hall of Fame. It floored me. It literally floored me. From that moment on, I think I cried for 25, 30 minutes because when you get that type of an honor, it is something that you reflect on. You reflect on your career, your journey, whatever path that you took to play, and you think of all the people that helped you. You don't do it by yourself, but if they do put out some accolades for some of the guys who have achieved and being able to achieve. It's harder to get into the College Football Hall of Fame than anywhere. There's more college football players that have played, obviously, than in the National Football League. So if you look at the numbers, I'm really in the hundreds where there have been millions of college football players. So to be part of that elite group and given that it's pretty cool. So in our group, just I'll give you some names. We had Terry Bradshaw, Walter Payton, and a few others, but just to have those two guys in there with me, and my, you know, it's a pretty amazing. So we had a great group, and it's a unique honor. I still very passionate about FCS football. Over the last several years, I've been the host and MC of the FCS National Awards, and been doing that for a long time. Not doing that this year, but that is something that I really appreciate, to be able to have something that can really extend and possibly shine a brighter spotlight on my university, on the FCS brand of football, and other players who come after me.
And just for the people who are, maybe younger and not as connected to your career as I've been blessed to grow up in, I just want to mention a few more other things from that college time. They retired your jersey, Northwestern State, one of three players, I believe, to ever have the number retired when you wore 34. Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. We're going to continue that. Also, a Gary Reasons Day in the town where Northwestern State is based. Holy cow, man!
Yeah, I've had some good things, and even my hometown, Crowley, Texas, had a parade after we won the Super Bowl, our first Super Bowl there, and with my high school, they retired my jersey, and they've actually named the field Gary Reasons Field after me at my high school. So I've had some really cool honors bestowed upon me for my sports career. I've loved being able to be a broadcaster for over 30 years of college football, and for ABC, ESPN, and Fox. It's been a great journey for me to be able to be a part of a game that I've just started playing football when I was 8 years old, and I've been a part of football ever since. So it's been a great run.
And I like to close out my shows with this question every time. And I feel like it's so much more powerful to get to ask it to you, someone who, my dad's preached as legend almost throughout my childhood. And that question is, in the future, if a kid were to look up your name on Google or on Pro Football Reference or on whatever, if they could only remember you by one thing, what would you want it to be?
I would want it to be to remember it as a great teammate. Gary Reasons was a great teammate. And hopefully, I think that will shine through, because you don't get to have the accolades and the success that I've had without doing that. It doesn't, that the success doesn't come by yourself. It's all together. with all of the different teammates. And I want to share that with each of them. All of these honors that have been bestowed upon me are really should be shared amongst my teammates. So really being remembered as a great teammate and someone who really was passionate about football and the game and really enjoyed it my entire life.
And you can tell that being a good teammate works when you see that trophy gleaming right there in the back.
Oh, it's over this shoulder. Okay, yeah, yeah, and those are my guys back there, me and Harry and Lawrence and you know Carl. We had a great time, and so it was a pretty good run, really pretty good run.
What a core. That's going to do it here, episode 72 of the Playoff Push podcast. Any final words?
No, all great. So if you want to potentially reach out to me, if you look for having a speaker for one of your upcoming events, you can reach me at GaryReasons.com. Check it out. I've got contact information there. So do reach out and also check out my LinkedIn profile because I'm posting every single day and I'm giving some words of wisdom for some of the things that I've learned over the years. There and also on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Going on, giving a couple of things there, kind of back and forth, but trying to share a lot of this wisdom. But I want to take it with me. I want to pass it on. I'm trying to pass on knowledge, and it's really kind of a cool thing to do. But hit me up at GaryReasons.com, and happy to visit with you about any kind of event that I can help you with.
I will double up on the LinkedIn thing. Make sure to go there because I guarantee when that book drops, it's going to be on there. Got to check it out. Man, thank you so much for hopping on the show. It's really an honor. I really appreciate it.
That was a good time, Jack. Thank you, buddy.
Alrighty, that's going to do it here, episode 72 of the Playoff Push podcast. As always, I'm your host, Jack Dobbins, and have a great rest of your day.